Let's go back to you, Matt. And I think obviously we need to be careful about getting fooled or by a suspect link. There are other ways that we have to be careful about getting fooled, and this one baffled me when we were first talking about it. So
I think this one's pretty interesting. Yeah, this is a story that Lenny Zeltser put up on his blog. I'd read his blog pretty religiously, really good stuff. This is a variation on the old tech support scam where someone calls you up and says, you've got a virus, I need to remotely access your computer and fix it. Now, cold calling is not a great way to get people to do what you want them to do, but...
Well, people are advised, and hopefully people realize that when you get somebody just calling you out of the blue, it's probably not somebody you really should trust. You need some sort of way to validate.
Exactly.
And well, a lot of times they purport that they're some well-known operating system vendor.
Yeah, they absolutely do that. But, but by the same token, generally what they say is that if you initiate a discussion, that's one thing, but if they call you, to not trust them.
And that's where this gets clever. So someone's written a Twitter bot, and what it'll do is it'll search Twitter for terms like malware, virus, and automatically respond and say, assuming that the person is complaining about having some sort of infection on their machine, saying, oh, wow, I just had that same exact problem. I know some guys who fixed it really quickly, and all you got to do is call this number. And that number actually is an interactive voice system, and it asks you several questions. It asks you, are you over 21? Is this a Windows machine, and is this a business or personal machine? Now, no matter which of these you pick, it doesn't actually give you any support. It says thank you and goodbye. But to get to the end of it, you basically have to be using a personal machine, be over 21, and have it be a Windows machine. And then they say thank you, and they hang up. Everything else says, I'm sorry, we can't support that. The idea, we believe, is that eventually the people who have made it through those hoops will get called back. And because they initiated a request for tech support to these guys, they expect to be called back. Now, that's totally different from being cold called and saying you have a virus. If you call in someone and say, I'm interested in getting your help, and you get the call back saying, well, you called us, they're much more likely to respond positively to that and go through with a scam.
Yeah, and so very tricky little scam, something to be paying attention to. So keeping in mind that when you say something on Twitter, you're basically broadcasting it to anybody that has a Twitter account. And so do you trust all those people? I guess that's...
You should not.
Probably not.
I find it particularly interesting. It's still going on as of this taping, so if you're interested, go look at what Lenny wrote on his blog. He's got some examples, and you'll probably find even more accounts that are doing this. The accounts seem to be used for general spam activities. They're sending like nonsense messages every so often, as well as direct messages to or messages targeted to other users to say, hey, here's some other offer. But it seems only recently they've gone to this scam.
Yeah. Do you know if there have been efforts to try to block those accounts when they're identified or complaints of them?
I'm not directly aware of it, but I think now that the article has been posted, I think Twitter will probably try and get on top of it.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the challenges that social media organizations have, is that defining what is an acceptable use policy and enforcement of that policy in a consistent way, because obviously they don't want to be creating harm for others, but they also try to support a freedom of speech policy.
Right.
So it's a bit of a tricky situation. In the end, it's really the end users that need to be responsible for how they interact and respond to activity that are going on in social media. So
the interesting thing to be about this one is that the practice of cold calling, they might get maybe, I don't know what their statistics are, but maybe 1 out of every 1,000, let's just say, is someone who's actually going to fall for their little spiel that they give you over the phone. Whereas this tactic, all they got to do is have a bot send messages, and it like pre-screens, and they got this nice pool of naive users who are already foolish enough to respond to the Twitter message, and they're more than likely to fall for the next phase.
Yeah, and they're trying to deal with. They're obviously frustrated and trying to deal with a problem already, as opposed to the other way around, right?
The funny thing about that is there are several. I was taking a look at the Twitter feed for these terms, and there are definitely people out there who are not talking about being infected. Just the mention of the word virus, and if it's cold and flu season, someone complaining about being physically sick, you'll get a message back, I know a guy who can totally help you with that.
I have the sniffles.
So there's going to be a couple funny misses in there somewhere. So until they start doing like natural language processing, there's probably going to be some amusing misses in there.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So
Interesting. Well, I can help you with your virus. Why do I have to be over 21, by the way? And okay.